Iditarod. Now there's a unique name, and when I first heard it, I had no idea what it was. But I got involved with Iditarod back in 1980. I was photographing a portrait of Joe Reddington Sr. I figured if I photographed somebody famous like that, that would help out my wedding and portrait business. So that's what I did. And when I went out there, Joe said, well, I've got 300 sled dogs here. Why don't you take a dog team to Nome? Joe was the kind of guy that wanted to get everybody involved with the Iditarod, no matter what. And he didn't know me from Adam. But he says, why don't you take a dog team to Nome? I said, I just moved up here from California a couple years ago. I can't do that. And he said, well, then come take pictures for us. And he showed me how to get involved with the Iditarod with Dick Mackey. And Dick Mackey told me about getting involved with a volunteer pilot. So I paid this volunteer pilot, Dr. Von Mitten, $350 for gas and oil to fly me on the race. And that only bought me a plane ticket basically as far as the town of McGrath, because that's all the money would go. But it got into my blood. And you know, the Iditarod is not a race to me, it's an event. And it's a big part of my life. I mean, this year will be my 39th year on the Iditarod. And that's a lot of time. My wife tells me, let's see, 2 weeks a year times 39 years. I've spent a lot of time out on the trail. So I'm looking forward to this year, but then it's also hard being a creative person that I am. Doing the same thing over and over sometimes feels like insanity. But I love it because of the people out there, the people in the villages, the people in the towns. It's just wonderful. That along with the small dog team and the big landscape, that's what I'm all about. I just love being out in the middle of nowhere, hearing the panting of dogs running by and being able to photograph that and then show it to the world. You know, as an artist, what I love about the Iditarod is that small dog team that's very graphic. You know, you got the boop, 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 the 6 or 8 or 10 or 15 dogs along with this sled. It just looks great. It looks great from the side, it looks great from the air, it just looks great everywhere. So I love putting that element in God's big creation. Snow-capped mountains, the river valleys, the stark white of the Bering Sea, whatever that is. I just love placing that in various spots that look cool. I really enjoy the photojournalistic aspect of this race, which is the exhaustion on the mushers when they come into a checkpoint, the frosted faces. It's the dogs being lively and happy. It's the action that goes on. It's all that stuff and more. The aurora borealis going on overhead, the sub-zero temperatures with people's boots creaking on the snow, and just all of that aspect, the bitter cold, the crazy temperatures, and the snow blowing sideways. All that stuff lends itself really great to creative images. There's so many great moments out there, and I love being able to capture that and being able to show that to the film, constraining what I see into this horizontal or vertical format that I can share with the world. There's some such unique moments out there that are just unbelievable. One of those moments that comes to mind is when I was flying with one of the volunteer pilots, Danny Davidson, and we were just out looking for dog teams. And here's one on Farewell Lakes. And Farewell Lake, from the air, it's all these cracks are in the lake, in the ice. And there's just a little bit of snow here and there. And it's blowing 90 miles an hour and we're barely moving in this airplane. And so we're trying to find this image of a musher on the lake, and sure enough we did. And this is the photo that came out of that. I call it Cracks and Dogs. It's one of those once-in-a-lifetime photos that you couldn't time that in a million years, but that is the moment that I'm trying to capture. So what was really unique about this, or just different I guess, is that we're in the airplane, the wind's blowing like crazy, and I'm telling the pilot, hey, let's try to get this dog team near one of these patches of snow. And Danny's flying around in circles, and so he's basically timing this airplane that's going 100 miles an hour with a dog team that's going 8 miles an hour, and we're going the opposite direction. Danny just did a great job making this all come together, and I was able to capture it. And part of this, the backstory to it was, we're in this airplane, and because it's so windy, the plane's bouncing up and down. So I wanted to make sure that I had the fastest shutter speed I could get. So I increased the ISO, probably to ISO 800, increased the shutter speed to like an 8,000th of a second, wide open, because I didn't need any depth of field because I was on infinity. So I wanted to make sure that the photo was sharp. And then I just shot probably 8 frames a second, was as fast as I could go back then, and just made it all work. So Iditarod, it's happening. I want to bring you along on a couple special different projects I have, and one of them is to show you the backstory, different checkpoints along the trail, show you some of the history of what I've photographed as well as what's happening right now during the race. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching. Please hit the subscribe button, that helps me out, and also click the bell so that you'll get notified when I upload new stuff. And I hope you'll join my team as I go down the trail.